Yeah, so hi peeps, it's Tersse back in the old squawk box again. Squawk, squawk, squawk. So this is another diversion into another topic. The topic is the Pope, the new Pope, the Catholic Church, the Vatican, blah blah blah. So the old Pope, who by the way did a last sermon before he retired, a week before the vote was taken to find out, or a week or more before the vote was taken to elect a new Pope. He did a sermon and he didn't look that ill. He didn't look like he was incapable of being the Pope. I mean, how hard is the job? I mean, you say prayers and you meet people and shake their hand, and it's a bit like being the Queen. Fucking hell, our Queen in the UK is pretty old. She's not so sprite on her limbs, on her pegs, as she used to be, And okay, he's an old Pope, but why did he decide that he was too infirm to be the Pope? And let's face it, considering that he is the Pope, the conduit of the Catholic people to God, you would think God would have given him enough strength to survive until he passed on and left the way open for a proper Pope, Because that's normally the way that Popes ascend, isn't it? The last one died, and now we vote for the new one. But this guy, he resigned, gave his job up, maybe. We don't know if he gave it up. They're building a whole house for him in the Vatican, and the new Pope's going to be living in the Vatican, so what, are they never going to talk? See, this is the way I see it. The old Pope, the one that's retired, he instituted an investigation into gay conspiracy within the Vatican of a bunch of gay cardinals who were putting other cardinals into what you could say were difficult situations to explain, given their religious beliefs, and then blackmailing them into voting certain ways on certain votes within the Vatican for certain things that the papacy was going to be doing. Because you've got to understand that the Vatican isn't just a place where they talk about spiritual stuff. No. You don't just talk about God and the soul and whether or not Jesus rose for the dead or didn't. They don't talk about those things very much, apart from in front of the TV cameras. Behind the scenes, they're investing huge amounts of money. They're investing huge amounts of money all across Europe, all across North America, all across China, India, Africa. Yeah, they have their thumbs in many pies, and a lot of the people who are put in charge of different departments, it's like the government. They have ambassadors who go to different places in the world, and they have great power and great opportunities for wealth and aggrandizement of themselves and their family, because not all cardinals are like orphans. they are members of, some of them, members of large families with 13, 11 members of the family, of their own age or younger, So, it's quite possibly they're given contracts for building for the papacy, given investments to some of their siblings who work for banks, etc. And there was this, as I say, the Pope did put into place this investigation into the so-called gay sort of conspiracy going on in the papacy, in the Vatican, whereby they would be putting certain cardinals into compromising positions filming and recording it, and then blackmailing them into making votes the way that this gay conspiracy group wanted. And the Pope, as I said, had a large investigation into this, and then just when he received this large sheaf of information on what was going on, he decided that he had to, because of his health, resign, take a back seat, step back, and let someone else take over the role of Pope, because he was just too infirm to carry on it. So he sealed this gigantic investigations bundle of notes, and he retired. Is it possible that there was some kind of information that he found within these documents that implicated him? Is it possible that this gay conspiracy, they say, I don't think it's all gay, it's basically power conspiracy within the Vatican, is it possible that there was some information in there which, due to its import, if released, would bring down the papacy itself, destroy his papacy, make it look like the worst papacy in the world, a bit like George W. Bush's last presidency. We're now learning 10 years after the Iraq war how fucktarded they all were, you know. Can you imagine if that sort of thing was to come out about the Pope and spread about the whole world for the whole Catholic, you know, world to see? I think that's more to do with why the Pope retired. And which points to my belief in this is they didn't elect another European Pope. No, not at all. They couldn't have another European Pope because they've all spent a lot of time in Rome, near the Vatican, in houses provided for them, one floor above the largest gay sauna in Europe. So it's not the gay conspiracy, it's a conspiracy of catching the gay, you know. And when you look at what's been going on with the Catholic Church, can you imagine some of these cardinals being outed and their congregations knowing that they, when visiting Rome to see the Pope, spent the weeks that they didn't see the Pope visiting a gay sauna? Terrible fucking press, man. Terrible, you know. And so they brought in a cardinal from South America who's not spent any time, if very much time, in the Vatican. He is still a conservative cardinal, but he spent most of his time working with the poor and working the best he can in South America. So he's been far away from the corruption that is the Vatican, you know, in Europe. The way that I would say that this idea of mine would bear fruit is if he comes in and over the next year or so gets that documentation opened for him, because the last Pope sealed it for the next Pope to read, and the last Pope, unable to deal with it himself because he'd maybe implicated in it, he's going to leave it to the next Pope coming in. Was it, I don't know, Charles or Florence, I don't know. I don't know, some crazy fucking name that they give popes, right? So he's chosen some name, changed his name to some other name. But he's going to read this stuff, you know, and I think over the next year or so, you're going to see some pretty high cardinals be sent off to evangelise, to missionaryize, you know, around the world, you know. You'll find some cardinal who spent the last 20 years in the Vatican suddenly being sent off to bring the faith to Botswana or Angola, or, you know what I mean? They're going to be found to be not required back, basically. an old drilling term from the oil rigs, you know. Not required back. We've got a good job for you, but it's 1,000 miles away from the Vatican. And if we see this happening over the next sort of, 9 months, a year, 18 months, I would think that my view of what's going on in the Vatican is probably more true than anything you're going to see reported in the news. So let's see what this cardinal from South America, who hasn't spent much time in the Vatican, who's going to read this conspiracy report within the Vatican, let's see what he does. Let's see how many people who've spent 20 years in the Vatican suddenly find themselves serving a cathedral in the middle of Africa, the middle of Mongolia, China. You know what I mean? I do believe that this is probably what we're going to see. I mean, I'm not prophesying, I'm not a prophet, but I'm just looking at this from the aspect of what we've seen happening to the Catholic Church. What I think may be contained in this document, which was sealed by the last Pope for the next Pope because he couldn't deal with it. And why couldn't he deal with it? Not because of his age. He was perfectly fine when he did his last sermon. A bit frail, but look at his age. He could have lived out being a Pope till he died. I'm sure God would have given him the strength for that. Isn't that what God's there for these people? Well, he didn't pray hard enough for God to support him and give him the strength to live out his full and sort of happy life serving him here and there before they took him up. And then they bring in this South American guy. Yeah, I'm just saying, I believe we should be looking for some changes in the Vatican over the next year or so. Yeah. And when we see those changes happening, which I'm sure we will, we can be absolutely sure that that's what's going on. They're clearing house. They know they need to do something. They won't get all of them, by the way. Some of them will be too strong to bust, It's like too big to fail, yeah. There's going to be a few of them, but by seeing their cohorts and their supporters disappear off into the wilderness of the world to run cathedrals and distant places, they will be cowed, they will be put in their place, and they will understand that the good times are over. The Catholic Church needs to get back to abortion and, putting the fear of God into people, and making sure that, you understand you can't use the pill and can't use the condom. They're really going to evangelise Catholicism over the next sort of 10-15 years. I mean, the evangelists in America, the Protestants, have done that over the last 20-30 years. The Catholics have sort of let it slip, and I can see some of that coming back, because this guy for South America is definitely a conservative. He's very conservative. He's anti-abortion, he's anti the fucking pill, he's anti the fucking condom. He's pretty much like the last two popes. Conservative, fucktard, idiot. But he realises that you can't have this huge, gigantic conspiracy going on in the Vatican and bringing the Vatican down. And he's probably going to do quite a lot as well to do with making sure that, recalcitrant priests who don't hold to their vows of celibacy and have sex with kids, the paedophiles I'm talking about, I think he's going to deal with that as well. but I don't reckon he's going to be there more than maybe 8 years. He's quite an old man himself. But I reckon, yeah, they've given it 8 years, and he's going to pull the faith together. I reckon that's what's happening with the papacy at the moment. But that's just my view on things. You know, I don't know whether you take any credit in what I say. It doesn't matter, because I'm saying it anyway. And I don't dislike or like the Catholic faith any more or any less than I like the Muslim or Protestant faith. They're all fucked ups. This is simply a corporation trying to recover from bad press. The problem is they're not a commercial corporation. They can't just do a huge, gigantic advertisement campaign. They really need to clean out the dross that has accumulated within their organisation. And that's why I say within the next year or so you will see people who were prominent within the Vatican over the last 20 years disappear, be moved on, or be demoted, you could say. So let's watch for that, folks, shall we? Let's see if there's any of it actually gets reported in the news, because I'm sure some of it will. Some of the people that have to be moved on or demoted, yeah, it might be they just retire. They find themselves like the Pope too ill to carry on their vocation, and retire peacefully and quietly to some mountain monastery somewhere, if they still exist. I don't know if that happens, you know what I mean? But I'm sure there's somewhere they can stick them, you know, and it will happen. Year and a half. Let's see what goes on. He's got 8 years, I think, and then this guy's probably going to be too well. In fact, the Pope who's retired might outlive the guy who's just taken over. He's only got one lung, after all, you know. Which is why he speaks with such a soft voice. It's not because he's a real pious man. He's only got one fucking lung. So, you fucking bar, motherfuckers.